still searching for that elusive first win in the Moto2 World Championship, pre-season favourite. Ducati MotoGP bound in 2025. Fermin Aldeguer goes in the middle of that front row, but he's on pole position for the very first time in his Grand Prix career. He's looked brilliant so far this weekend. QJ Motor Gresini rider Manuel Gonzalez. This is his 42nd Grand Prix start. Does glory beckon for Gonzalez? Does glory beckon for Gresini? We'll find out that elusive in Portimao.
Well, after an astonishing start to the Moto2 season in Qatar, what will we see this time? It's round 2 in Portimao with the first ever pole for Manuel Gonzalez. Fermin Aldeguer and Aaron Canet complete the front row. Alonso Lopez, Joe Roberts and Alberto Arenas together on row 2. Aldeguer and Sergio Garcia, who stormed through the pack in Qatar from deep on the grid, start 7th and 8th. Somcat Chantra, like Agura, came through Q1 to secure 9th. Jeremy Alcoba 10th from Marcos Ramirez, and Tony Arbolino, who has to play catch-up from P12. Center Age is a career best 13th from Celestino Vietti and Dennis Foggia. Barry Baltas, one of the stars of Qatar, 16th ahead of star rookie this weekend, Diogo Moreira, and Bo Benchnader. He lines up in 18th place. Zonta van den Gorberg, who was livid with Ethan Guevara in qualifying yesterday, 19th ahead of Darren Binder and Ayumu Sasaki. Zonta van den Gorberg's chief enemies right behind him on the grid. Guevara starts 22nd. He's the sole Aspar rider running here in the Grand Prix. Jake Dixon withdrew after Friday's running. Completing your grid, Jaume Masia, Alex Escreech, Denis Sonchu and Xavi Cardelus. Bringing up the rear is Mario Aggi. No Jake Dixon, no Xavi Artigas. Both withdrew after Friday. No Philip Salach, last year's pole sitter, didn't travel here to Portimao after arm pump surgery.
Yes, we wish all three speedy recoveries and hope all three are back in action doing what they do best at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Our next port of call in Moto2 as we rock up in Portimao at the roller coaster. Aaron Canet, third fastest on the Fantic Racing Calyx machine. Just under 2/10 away from another pole position was Canet. He's put in decent long runs on those poly tyres here this weekend, but we said the same, didn't we, in Qatar a couple of weeks ago. And having made a great start and the early running, Canet eventually found himself back in 10th place at the checkered flag. Tony Arbolino looking to bounce back from what was a very difficult season opener in Lusail. Arbolino was nowhere near the point scoring places, took the checkered flag from 5th on the grid in 20th place. He was 30 seconds away. A rider who pushed Pedro Acosta, kept him honest all the way to the checkered flag in Moto2 here 1 year ago, and fighting with Aaron Canet as well for the podium. On board then with Japan's Ayagura Lewis, second Grand Prix Moto2 for the new Pirelli era, and it looks like we've got a pretty straightforward tyre selection.
Yes, of course in Qatar last time around it was those on the soft rear tyre, the SC0, who really stormed through the pack towards the end. Every single rider on the grid has that SC0 soft rear tyre. Much more of a split on the front tyre. Amongst our top 3 rows on the grid, 3 of the 9 are on the SC2 medium front. Those are Canet, Agura and Chantra. Everyone else in the top 10 on the grid are on the softer front.
Well, let's hope it was as wild and wonderful as what the season opener in Qatar was a couple of weeks ago, because it was so tough to call, wasn't it? Coming out on top of the end of it was Alonso Lopez, taking his first victory since Phillip Island in 2022. Does the Spaniard have another ace up his sleeve? He goes from the head of that second row in 4th place. Joe Roberts, we know that he loves Portimao, and he sounded very confident, didn't he, on the grid when he spoke to Simon Crafar. A rather pensive-looking Luca Boscascura. He's already nibbling the nails away as his riders come to the head of the grid. Can Manu Gonzalez break Boscascura's current domination of this Moto2 World Championship? 5 wins in a row now for the Italian brand. Only Calyx and Suter have had longer winning streaks in the Moto2 era. Green flag then is cleared at the back of the grid. And it's lights out, and we are racing in Moto2 here in Portimao. There's a bit of a stutter there from Aldeguer on the middle of that front row. Gonzalez has nailed it though from pole position. They swoop down the descent into the first corner. Aldeguer, though, immediately on the inside of Gonzalez, up into the lead. Alonso Lopez already wrapped it up the line as well. He's gone up from 4th to 3rd and immediately setting about Gonzalez on the inside of the pole man into turn 3. We have a Bosca scorer, 1-2.
Well, 1, 2, 3 now, because look at Aldeguer through into 3rd place, up ahead of Manu Gonzalez. Canet was the big loser off the line. He got away poorly and then was outbraked by Lopez. Canet down to 5th.
Gonzalez was really strong away from the line. He judged the lights perfectly and just maybe a little bit cautious with a full fuel tank dropping down the hill on the brakes in that first corner. He got picked up by Aldeguer. It was a good 10 metres behind him as they launched off the line. Then Lopez picked him off in an aggressive move as well into turn 3. Gonzalez then poled back to 4th, not the start that he wanted.
You can always trust Tony Arbolino to make places up off the line. Of course, pole qualifying for last year's championship runner-up in 12th. He's already gained 4 places.
Aldeguer leads a Moto2 race. That was a very familiar sight and sound, wasn't it, at the back end of 2023, where he steamrolled to the last 4 Grand Prix in dominant fashion in all 4. Under immediate early pressure here, though, from Lopez. Well, a bit of a twitch there, doesn't he? In second place, Canet's gone wide, and that's going to cost him maybe a couple of places. Arenas come through, and so does Joe Roberts, who's got the inside line here, the Californian, and Canet does indeed lose those 2 spots.
Yeah, he's now down to 7th, so it's not working out at all for Aaron Canet on this opening lap. And then with the Bosca-Scoros away at the front, Canet already with 3 or 4 bikes between himself and the next of those Bosca-Scoros, the 4th of them, incidentally, Sergio Garcia, surprisingly went backwards up the line. He's back to 12th. He swapped places essentially with Tony Arbolino.
So for the first time in 2024, pre-season favourite Fermin Aldeguer leads a Moto2 Grand Prix, and he leads it by a 1/4 of a second over the line from his teammate Lopez there in second place. Aldeguer was really good on that first lap. He's gained 4 places. Gonzalez has not been able to work his way forward, having dropped back to 4th after the first 3 corners.
A couple of moves into turn 1 there. Canet made his way back through on Roberts on the downhill descent to turn 1, and Marcos Ramirez is now on the tail of his teammate as he passed Arbolino into the first corner.
Dream come true, signing that 2-year Ducati contract for Aldeguer pre-Portimao. Dream start to this Portimao Grand Prix as well here in Moto2, as he tries to break away from the chasing number 21, his teammate, beat tall speed-up rider Alonso Lopez.
Dare he break away? I mean, what we saw in Qatar, is he going to be a little bit more cautious in these early stages? Remember what Canet got up to when he dropped back to 9th on that first lap, just stormed back through into the lead and then immediately ran out of tyre. You imagine these Moto2 riders collectively might be a little bit more cautious early on, not to take too much out of these tyres.
Certainly wasn't a great first lap for Sergio Garcia on the podium for the first time in Qatar in Moto2. He lost 3 places. Here comes Lopez, coming from a long way back.
Teammates.
Properly barges through there, doesn't he, on Aldeguer. No love lost whatsoever between Lopez and Aldeguer. A 54 will not like that at all, will he? That was aggressive by Lopez. We know he's not scared, is he, to sharpen the old elbows, Lopez. He's been caught up in a couple of controversial incidents in the past, hasn't he? Not exactly on Jake Dixon's Christmas card list after a couple of tangles last year, and he properly put one on there on his teammate Aldeguer, didn't he, at turn 13.
Well, he said in Qatar, or post-Qatar, I'm going to be more calm in the early stages, but that wasn't what we saw just then. He's on the inside line here for Aldeguer and sweeps across his front tyre. This is keeping the front pack nicely close together to speed up Bosca-Scorer 1-2, Agura 3rd, and then 4th and 5th for the Brasini duo. Gonzalez ahead of Arenas, who's the fastest rider on track.
Might be a bit of red mist inside Aldeguer's helmet right now. He's heading to a red Ducati next year, but just got to keep his cool and composure here, because that was a proper barge through, wasn't it? On the inside of turn 13 from Lopez. Coming from a long way back there was Gonzalez, trying to find a way through on Agura down the hill into turn 5. There's no way through. Both the Brasini bikes have had a strong start though to this Grand Prix, with Arenas keeping himself in the top 5. Here's a replay then up at 13, top part of this circuit. Yeah, that was a proper lunge, wasn't it? Now, it's a good job there that Aldeguer's been committed to pick it up, because if he just toughed it out, well, he could have gone down there. And he will not have liked that. He would not have liked that one bit, and payback might be coming imminently.
Yeah, those two, of course, have fought for a championship against each other before. This is Arenas now taking the pole sitter, Gonzalez. Gonzalez will be holding it on the outside. He knows we've got a left-hander coming next, and he holds it up the inside. Arenas is surely going to give that one up now, because he's on the outside for 13. Brilliant racing between the two teammates. Perhaps arguably a slightly cleaner battle than we saw between the teammates out front.
Teammate, so Aldeguer has got a double on that penalty. I thought on the line, I thought I could see like he was a little bit hesitant. A jump start and a double long lap penalty then for Fermin Aldeguer. Now that does change the whole complexion of this Portuguese Grand Prix. Aldeguer then has a double long lap penalty. He did catch my eye as he left the grid. I didn't realise that he jumped the start.
He needs to get to the front and clear off then and try and build up some speed. Surely Lopez will see this as they come across the line. Aldeguer does go to the front. This is what he has to do now. He needs to try and pull out a lead over his teammate because it is a long lap penalty lane here. He goes right around the outside of turn number 14 and Aldeguer's got to come through it twice.
Well, the red mist might have just have cleared from the Lopez move, and now it's going to be firmly back full in his face, isn't it? When he sees that on the dashboard, he's
positioned now with one more long lap penalty to go. It's still a Bosca score.
A 1:42.494 from the Italian on the Elf Vides racing machine. He's in 7th place at the moment, Arbolino. Just under 1.5 seconds he was over the line behind your new race leader, Lopez. Oh, can you believe it? What a dramatic start for the new season for Aldeguer. Out of the points and nowhere. So far off the podium pace he was in Qatar. Now with a double long lap penalty to contend with here in Portimao. A top 10's going to be a bonus here now, isn't it, for Aldeguer?
This could be dream ticket for Alonso Lopez if he can convert this very early days as Canet now moves into 2nd place at the expense of Aldeguer. Lopez could potentially be staring at a 50-point game after 2 races on his teammate Aldeguer at this stage of the season, and the 2 other riders who were with Lopez on the podium back in Qatar. Garcia's down in 12th and he's battling with the rider that he finished behind in Qatar, Barry Baltas, who's only in 13th at the moment.
Yeah, not only is Aldeguer obviously facing but he's gone through this time and he's not taken the second of the long lap penalties.
5 laps to come through twice.
So he's got time, he'll be aware of that. But of course, a massive early dent in his championship and another opportunity to present himself for Lopez, because one of the title contenders pre-season clearly was going to be British Jake Dixon, who didn't score a point in Qatar. Sadly sidelined as legacy of his massive practice crash in Doha. But Jake Dixon will be pointless going to Austin in a couple of weeks. Canet is getting on with it as well. He's down to a 1:42.485. That is now the fastest lap of this race. It was a couple of tenths quicker than Lopez directly ahead of him. Over the line, the gap 5.5 tenths.
Yeah, it's not a pretty quick pace here at the front of the race because they were doing mid to high 41s in qualifying. So 42.4 for Aaron Canet is really shifting. We just need to hope from his point of view that he's not making the same mistake he did in Qatar by going too hard too early. He's half a second behind Alonso Lopez. The rider who looks keen to get on with this is Gonzalez in 4th place. Having seen Canet go through on Agura on the previous lap, Gonzalez, the pole setter, looks like he's pretty keen to chase up after Canet.
Repeat podiums for Baltas and Garcia. Highly unlikely, you feel, at this early juncture of this 19-lap race. Garcia 12th, Baltas 13th. They have just set personal best laps of the Grand Prix. They're doing respectable high 1:42s, but they've been cut well adrift of this early battle. Will the huge deviation in lap times that we saw in Qatar unfold here again and maybe bring the likes of Baltas and Garcia back into contention? We'll find out, won't we, over the next 15.5 laps or so. But at the moment, it's all looking comfortable for Alonso Lopez, who's taken a 10th out of Canet in Sector 2, another 10th out of him in Sector 3, and the advantage now is building towards 7/10 of a second.
I suppose if you're Aldeguer, you wait as long as possible before serving your second long lap penalty. He's gone through again. He's got 2 more laps to try and serve it, because there's now around about a 1.4 second gap behind him. In fact, he's overtaken Chantra, so he's now back into the top 10. There's a nice gap opening up between Chantra and Garcia, who are currently running 11th and 12th. So Aldeguer must be thinking, leave it as long as possible. I might be able to feed myself into that gap.
Well, he's locked into damage limitation mode, isn't he, big style here, as Gonzalez comes from a long way back on Agura. Nice move by the pole position rider. Gonzalez has had good pace all weekend as well, so having worked his way through a bit of early traffic as Agura goes sideways into turn 3, we're on board now with the Japanese rider on the steep climb up through turn 4, and then it's downhill. This big downhill braking zone, so easy to wash out the front here. So that's Gonzalez just ahead of Agura. There, just in your picture as well as Canet in 2nd place. Just out of your shot, briefly there. You just see him over Gonzalez's left shoulder is your race leader, Lopez.
Canet's very good in that final sector, by the way. All that time that Lopez gained on him in the first 3 splits on the last lap, Canet just snatched it straight back again through those final right-handers. So the lead over the line for Lopez was 4/10 of a second. He was quicker in 3/4 of the lap, but across the line, Canet actually did a faster lap time than him.
It's been a very impressive transition, hasn't it, from a Kalex to a Bosca chassis by the man we're riding on board with right now, Agura. 4th and close to the podium in his first Grand Prix for the Italian chassis brand in Qatar, and right in the hunt again here for the podium. He won't want it to be back-to-back 4s. He'll want some post-race Prosecco here in Portimao. He's got his hands full, though, hasn't he? Dealing with Roberts behind him as well. Aldeguer then does peel in to the long lap penalty loop for the final, or what he hopes will be the final double long lap penalty. Well, there's
dirty,
it's so
bumpy,
dirty out there as well, of course, with all the overnight rain that we had on Thursday night, which basically turned this Portimao track into a mud bath, let's be honest.
Slotted in behind Barry Baltus there in Aldeguer, so he's now in 13th position and free to race from there, but a long way back from that particular position. Once again on that last lap, Canet was ever so slightly quicker than Lopez. Fastest rider on track though, certainly fastest rider amongst our leading contenders was Joe Roberts, who did a 1:42.507, 3/10 quicker than the leader. He's the last rider in this leading group of 5.
There he is on the 16 bike, just trying to work out how he can get through Aldeguer. Kind of holding station out the front, isn't it? 6th place for Arenas. He's still keeping himself in the 42s, desperately trying to make sure he clings on to the tail of Roberts. He's got his hands full holding off his former Moto3 foe as well, number 14 there, just coming through turn 7. Tony Arbolino, who after an early spurt of pace has dropped back into the 43s, Arbolino, and that's sort of curtailed his early charge. Arbolino has been stuck in 7th now for a couple of laps.
Yeah, it still feels like we're seeing a sort of phony war here before it really kicks off on Fermin Aldeguer. So that's Boscoscuro versus...
So congratulations to the Miller family on that side, but soon it will be his.
This is a man who definitely loves India, doesn't want to go.
So Aldeguer now up into the top 10. Yellow flags are out though, somewhere behind this leading group. Who's gone down in the first half of this lap?
Yeah, can't see anybody's name tumbling down the timing tab. Left-hand side goes Chavi Cardelus, unfortunately. She was circulating for Fantac Racing down in 25th spot, so Cardelus has bailed out. See confirmation on your screens there. That's why the yellow flags are out in sectors 1 and 2. So now then, Aldeguer starting to work his way now towards Marcos Ramirez as he tries to pick up as many points as he possibly can after the double long lap penalty. Was it Dennis Foggia here in Moto3 back in the day that did a double long lap penalty and got a podium? There was a
Cardelus still trying to recover. Yes. It looks like he's gone down into turn 3. The right-hander scuffs down the right-hand side of his Fantic Calyx, but Fantic have still certainly got hopes of victory here, haven't they, with Aaron Canet. Lopez stretching his lead out once again through the first couple of sectors of this lap. That was Cardelus's crash. Last time around it was Sasaki that crashed right behind him. This time it was Cardelus right behind Sasaki who went down. Is Canet once again pulling time back in the final sector? He certainly does. Personal best for Lopez, but Canet just pulls back all of that time that Canet gains on him, or that Lopez gains on him in the first 3 sectors. Canet unrivaled through that final split.
The pace holding around the sort of mid-142s at this stage of the Grand Prix. Back with Aldeguer then on the 54 bike. There you can see he's closing rapidly in on Ramirez directly ahead of him on the OnlyFans American Racing Team machine. There's Ramirez just sweeping out of your picture up the hill through turn 4. Over the line, the gap between the two of them was 9/10 of a second. That's close. So that was Aldeguer putting one on Sonkiat Chantra. Chantra had to pick it up there, didn't he? But nothing you do. Aldeguer just had by far the better speed, and that's shoved Chantra outside the top 10 as it stands right now.
Yeah, I'm coming through, and there's nothing you can do about it, was Fermin Aldeguer's message there, and Soket Chantra had no option but to heed that message. It's starting to split up a little bit in this leading group as the race leaders on the top 4 are able to hold this pace in the mid-42s. The riders immediately behind them, including this group, are starting to slip into the 43s, in particular Agura and Arbolino, who are up behind Arenas here. The battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Alcoba's doing 42.7s behind them and closing in on the back of this trio. Someone's down.
Yeah, somebody has gone down. Oh, it's Lopez! Alonso Lopez has cracked out of the lead. Well, can you believe this? Alonso Lopez, over half a second into turn 13 he goes, trail braking in. Maybe was he slightly offline on a slightly dirty part of the circuit, but that is a big blunder, isn't it, for Boscascura's Alonso Lopez. He was on course to make it 2 wins out of 2 to kick off 2024 and build a healthy early World Championship lead. But their day goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, the only good news I can give Luca Boscascura at the moment is that Aldeguer has just set another fastest lap of the Grand Prix in 8th. He's now doing 42.2s. Canet now leading this race does a 42.8 out front. It's Joe Roberts now into 2nd place, who's passed, of course, Gonzalez at the start of the previous lap. So, boy, what an opportunity knock here for Aaron Canet, who has so often crashed out of leads himself. This time he's on the receiving end of a gift from the race leader.
Well, surely now this is going to be one of the best chances he has ever had to finally end this long victory search in the Moto2 World Championship. 15 times he's had to stand in 2nd place on the podium at turn 13. It leaves Canet completely in front of this Grand Prix, but of course in turn the Lopez error will really light up the eyes of Robertson Gonzalez as well. In fact, straight away through the first 3/4 of this lap 12, Roberts has found 3/10 on Canet. This is not a given that Canet's going to get this job done. Surely not another 2nd place coming.
I'm going to ask a pretty speculative question and maybe a bit of a fanciful one. Can Fermin Aldeguer still win this race from where he is? He's 3.4 seconds now off the race leader. You've got the gap from Aldeguer to the leader on the left-hand side of your screen. It was 4 seconds when this lap began. He's now taken another 7/10 out of it. It's going to be another fastest lap, I'm sure, for Fermin Aldeguer, or something very close to it. It's another 1:42.2, very close to the fastest lap he set a lap ago. Aldeguer was the best part of a second quicker than the leader last time around.
Yeah, aside from Aldeguer, the only other riders in the 42s in the top 10 on that lap were Roberts in 2nd place and Sergio Garcia in 10th place, who's really starting to find some serious rhythm at this stage of the Grand Prix. Canet was back in the 1:43s. I just wonder whether maybe he was slightly distracted by the Lopez incident, but Roberts just over 6/10 back he was as we start lap 13 of 21.
Aldeguer's through on Alcoba now, he's up into 7th place. The obvious question for Aldeguer from where he is just how long can he sustain this pace and not take too much out of his tyres. As I mentioned earlier on, he's not really got much of a choice. He's just got to go for it and try and repair the damage from his jump start early on, but he's now into 7th. I think at the very least he must be thinking from where he is now, a podium's not out of the question.
Well, if he's got the rubber underneath at the end of this Grand Prix, well, anything's possible, isn't it? Sparks fly as he goes through turn 9.
Arbolino.
Oh, that was really close. And that's going to be a free spot there, isn't it, for Aldeguer? Didn't even have to work for it, because Arbolino was millimetres away, wasn't he, there from clipping the back of Arenas' machine. So that's another place that's been gifted here to Aldeguer. And the rate that he's closing in on the lead group here, well, he's got time. It's just a question now of how much abusing he's doing on these Pirelli tyres. If he's going to have the rubber left at the end of the Grand Prix or not, that's going to be the $64,000 question, isn't it, for Aldeguer?
I'll tell you what, the rate he's catching, the last thing you want to be doing is giving Fermin Aldeguer 3 positions, as Arbolino did there. Of course, he was worried about not running into the back of Arenas. It was a 1:42.5 that time for Aldeguer, so it was slightly slower than those 42.2s he was doing previously. He was still 4/10 quicker, though, than Canet out front.
And once again, in the top 10, the only riders in the 42s are Canet, Robertson, Garcia, and now he's just making light work of Arenas. He's running a little bit wide, but he knows he's going to have the inside line now as they climb up through turn 4. This would be an astonishing victory, wouldn't it, if he has come through the long lap penalty twice after the jump start. Canet will tick off lap 14 of 21, 2/3 distance completed here at the Algarve International Circuit. Aldeguer has found another 0.3 of a second on that previous lap. This is game on. The gap down to 2.4 seconds, 7 laps to go.
Yeah, he needs around 4 to 5 tenths of a lap to catch Canet from here. If Canet can keep it in the 42s, he should have enough to hold off Aldeguer. At the moment, I think Canet's just worried about Roberts and Gonzalez behind him. I'd love to know if the Fantic team are keeping Canet abreast of the gap back to Aldeguer, who's in 5th place now. In a lap or two's time, Aldeguer is going to be up behind Agura in the battle for 4th place.
Yeah, Joe Roberts just cannot get that gap to Canet down to under 6/10. In fact, through the first split on this lap 15, it's actually grown up to nearly 0.8 of a second. So Canet keeping out a bit of traction as we move into the crucial final phase of this Grand Prix.
Gonzalez very close there up behind Joe Roberts. Perhaps Gonzalez is the likeliest threat here to Canet amongst our leading three. Gonzalez clearly looks like he's keen to get on with this. Aldeguer at this stage of this lap not making particularly big inroads into Agura. The gap between the pair of them is still half a second, so Canet at the moment in a fairly comfortable position out front. The lead is hovering around that sort of 7/10 mark over Joe Roberts. It looks like the greatest threat in this, the top three, is going to come from Gonzalez.
Senna Aegis, another rider that's going to have to demote one position for overtaking under a yellow flag. He joins Celestino Vietti with that particular penalty. Gonzalez, you've got to give full credit here to Joe Roberts, because Gonzalez just cannot get close enough to show the American his front wheel, can he? He's going to try and pick up some slipstream here now. They move side by side, drop down the hill into the first corner, and finally Gonzalez then has made the move. You just wondered there, as Roberts was struggling to keep himself in the 42s while Canet was doing so, but the Gonzalez thought, right, it's now or never, I've got to get on with this now, because Canet is just quite comfortably managing his advantage. He's just pulling that little bit of a gap over Joe Roberts. So if I'm to win this Grand Prix, if I'm to deny Aaron Canet, I have to get through quickly on Roberts, and that was job done. Gonzalez second.
And Roberts is the slowest rider in this leading group of 6 at the moment. The other 5 are in the 42s. 43.1 for Joe Roberts. Fastest rider on track at the moment is outside of Aldeguer, of course, who's still doing 42.5s. It's Celestino Vietti, who's just served that penalty of letting Chantra back through. Immediately passed him again and did a 1:42.7. Much like Qatar, there are going to be riders in this race with late race pace who are just going to come zooming into contention.
Davide Tardozzi looking on at potentially one of his future employees in the factory Ducati team, of course. Next 2 years he's going to Prima Pramac, but Ducati getting some serious transfer business done very early in this 2024 World Championship. They've already signed, sealed and locked in Pecco Bagnaia, the world champion for the 2 years. They've been quick to move on Fermin Aldeguer. Well, they got that paperwork signed all back in January, we're told, by Fermin himself. And Davide Tardozzi has to be impressed with this awesome recovery job that's being done right now by the number 54 bike. He's certainly in the hunt here for the podium.
Well, Gonzalez is starting to chip away at Canet's lead now that he's gone through on Joe Roberts. He's taken 1/4 of a second off him so far in this lap, but remember, Canet is very good in this final sector. As they cross the line, it's just under 7:10, so Gonzalez did pull a 1/10.5 back on Aaron Canet on that last lap. They must be chewing their fingernails down to the quick down at Fantic Racing and in the Aaron Canet camp. They must dare watch this Grand Prix.
Sasaki has crashed out, the rookie for the VR46 Mastercap team. Sasaki was down in 24th place. Alonso Lopez did remount, although he's a couple of laps down. It's going to push him up to about 25th, but a day to forget for Lopez when he was looking so good at the front of this Grand Prix, crashing out the lead at turn 13. And will Aaron Canet gratefully receive the present that was handed? Canet would have seen that the gap was down to around 6/10 of a second once again, and he has pushed on this current lap. This may be the decisive move. Vantage through the 3rd sector was nearly 9.5 tenths. Bit of a gap then between Gonzalez and Roberts now, about 10 bike lengths between those two in the fight for second place. We're looking back from Agura's Boscascura chassis at the Boscascura of Fermin Aldeguer. 5th place after 2 long laps. He's going to try and pick up some slipstream here behind Agura. He won't be close enough to attack the Japanese rider on the brakes into turn 1. Canet's lead then to start laps 18 and 21 was just a whisker under a second.
Yeah, Canet's doing such a good job here. He's barely been out of the 42s in this entire Grand Prix, and that's all he needs to do, I think, at this stage of the race. If he can continue to lap in the 42s to the end of this race, he will win it, because Gonzalez did a 43.1 last time around. The only other riders in the 42s were Agura and Aldeguer, who are currently too busy watching each other.
Down we go through the turn 5. Agura, he will not want back-to-back 4 places. Good for the championship, good for the early points all, but he would certainly have fancied a crack maybe at Gonzalez and Roberts late on here, but he may well be getting pushed back to 5th very, very quickly, because all over his rear tyre is number 54 of Fermin Aldeguer. Through turn 9 they go. Once again the sparks fly from Aldeguer. A long, long way ahead now. They've comfortably dropped the Arenas Ramirez Garcia battle. Sergio Garcia's upwardly mobile once again. He's now picked off Jeremy Alcoba and Marcos Ramirez, and Garcia is up into 7th place. He's had podium speed, no question. He's paid for a very poor first 3 or 4 laps as the Spanish rider.
And once again, not to the same extent as Qatar 2 weeks ago. Tony Arbolino is dropping down the order like a lift with the cable cut. He's down to 11th place now. He dropped behind Vietti, Alcoba and Garcia.
Senna Aegis, I'm guessing that maybe he didn't drop the one position sufficiently in time. So 2.5 laps to go here. Aldeguer, he made the hard move on Agura into turn 3. It lost him his speed up the hill through 4, so Agura was just able to keep his acceleration and drive grip and just ease back on through. Aldeguer's not been able to respond here, as he is. This is a proper good battle, this, isn't it, between Roberts and Gonzalez, which is playing right into the hands of your race leader, Canet, because now his lead has crept up to over 1.5 seconds.
Is Aldeguer's rear tyre finally now starting to cry enough, because he's starting to lose a little bit of touch now with Agura. He launched that rail up the inside into turn number 3. Agura thwarted that initial challenge, and so far on this lap Aldeguer has fallen the best part of 0.5 second off the back of Agura. So has Aldeguer's charge finally met its match?
Yeah, this looks like it's game over. 1.6 seconds was Canet's very healthy advantage. It might be the front tyre that's gone for Aldeguer. Look at the wear on the right-hand side of that Pirelli front tyre for Fermin Aldeguer. He might just now say, yeah, double on that penalty, top 5, more than enough. As that's a proper block pass from Agura. At the bottom of your picture there from the helicopter shot, Agura charging through on Gonzalez. 1.5 laps to go here. Canet, your runaway leader. Simon, quickly down to you.
Yeah, with about 7 laps to go, you could see Aaron Canet and Agura with the stronger front tyre floating, you know, basically being stronger. And I think that's pretty clear from the shot we saw of Aldeguer's front tyre.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. Gonzalez having a proper scrap here for the final place on the podium with Agura. Joe Roberts looks like he might have a safe 2nd place in his pocket now after an excellent weekend for Roberts. 5th on the grid, backing it up with another podium here in Portimao. Who will snatch the final place on the rostrum? Gonzalez, who we're looking forward to now, under pressure from Agura. Yeah, Aldeguer has dropped over 0.5 second now behind Agura, who we're riding on board with, so it just looks like he has run out of rear grip. Stunning recovery though, stunning ride by Aldeguer, showing exactly why Ducati have been very eager to get him signed up on a 2-year contract as Gonzalez. Wow. He almost went to the moon, didn't he?
And that lets Agura through now into 3rd place once again. It looked more like a bucking bronco than a Boscascuro for Aldeguer as he came up over the rise towards turn 9 and 10. 1 lap to go for Aaron Canet. The torture of waiting for that first Grand Prix win in Moto2 might only be 1 more lap away from ending.
Here comes Gonzalez once again, finding a way back through on Agura, down the hill into braking zone for the first corner. Proper good battle this, isn't it, for the final place on the podium, which Aldeguer has still got a proper genuine crack at here, hasn't he? Aldeguer, where will he potentially feel like he can make the move? Turn 5 is a wonderful... Oh, Agura almost... Well, he was properly out to sea there, and Aldeguer then gets up into 4th. He had to run wide, or was going to charge in the back of Agura there, wasn't he? So now it is Aldeguer up into 4th. He's even running out of time, though, to rescue a stunning podium here as Aaron Canet powers towards an unforgettable first win here in Portimao.
He had to go off the circuit, but he was simply avoiding action there, so Aldeguer will happily accept those 2 extra points for 4th place. 13 points out of this, given how he started this race by literally jumping it, would be quite a recovery for Aldeguer. Roberts nowhere near threatening Aaron Canet, who's just got about 5 corners to go before he can finally taste that podium Prosecco as a winner in Moto2.
Here he goes then. 2 corners left into turn 13, where he was gifted the lead by the mistake by Alonso Lopez. Oh, Aguirre goes full speedway start. That's not going to work. 10 out of 10 for effort high, but hey ho, it's the last lap and he went all in. Firmin Aldeguer then will salvage a brilliant 4th place here after his 2 long laps in this dramatic Portimao Grand Prix, but he knows he's got the job done for the first time. It's fantastic for Fantic Racing as Aaron Canet is finally a Moto2 race winner. Brilliant performance by the Spanish rider. Look what it means down in Fantic Racing, and after all the near misses, all the close calls, all the heartache, Aaron Canet is a Moto2 winner for the very first time. What do they say? Good things come to those who wait. Brilliant ride by Canet, taking advantage of the vital mistake when leading by Alonso Lopez. Joe Roberts takes 2nd place. Brilliant race by the Californian. Manu Gonzalez, excellent weekend for him. Pole position and a podium. Aldeguer, sensational fight back from outside the top 10 to 4th after his 2 long laps. Top 6s for Aguirre and Garcia, who had stunning late pace. Sergio Garcia, brilliant ride by him. He came from outside the top 10 to 6. Top 10s for Vietti, Arenas, Ramirez and Chantra. Points for Alcoba, Arbolino, Baltas, Aegis and Binder. But I'm so thrilled, so happy, so delighted to say congratulations to Aaron Canet, the 24-year-old Spaniard. After 15 second places, he will finally get to take his place on the top step of a Moto2 podium. Absolutely brilliant.
Well, I'll tell you what, after 69 previous attempts in Moto2 at 15 second places, I'm loving the confidence of Aaron Canet through that final corner, taking his left foot off the peg, putting his arm in the air. That was almost Marco Melandri-esque in Philip Arm, wasn't it? That was mega from Aaron Canet. He's waited so long, so who can blame him for wanting to enjoy every moment of that victory celebration as he crossed the line. And that was the Aaron Canet that we saw for much of the Qatar Grand Prix weekend. It was only the lack of grip in the race that cost him. Aaron Canet, the floodgates have surely now opened.
It's his first victory in 75 Grand Prix since he won the Moto3 race at Aragon back in 2019. I'm sure it will feel like it has been worth the wait. This was the last lap. This was a humongous scare for Aguirre. Look how high he was out the seat. Aldeguer did really well actually to take evasive action. You can see there Aguirre knew that that mistake was costing him the chance to fight for the podium.
Yeah, no track limit sanction, of course, as mentioned for Firmin Aldeguer, because he was going off to avoid Aguirre taking avoiding action, so no penalty. But this is as cool as it gets. That doesn't look like a rider that's never won a Moto2 race, does it?
Classy Canet here in Portimao. Left foot off the foot peg, a nice little wave as well, the acknowledgement to the crowd with the left hand, and that is such a special feeling. After all of the near misses, as we mentioned, he's been 15 times runner-up, and it is going to be a great feeling. Firmin Aldeguer, then that's a brilliant 4th place for him. That will feel like 25 points, let alone 13, because that was one outstanding recovery. Absolutely brilliant.